Source for sports, we know our stuff. Source TV, I'm Kerry Goulet. I'm with Juha Mikkola. How are you, buddy? Good to see you.
I'm great, Kerry. How are you?
Always great when we can talk sports and, of course, your sport, floorball. Tell us a little bit about the origin of floorball, and now I'll tell you what, it's sweeping the nation.
It is. So floorball originally started in Sweden in the 1970s. It's a off-ice version of hockey. It's got the speed of hockey, the safety. It's a really great part of the game because you don't bring sticks above the waist. You don't need any gloves or helmets. Really inexpensive to play. You can get started with a stick for around $20. From Sweden, spread to my homeland of Finland pretty quickly. We're the current world champions in the game, which is pretty cool.
Like that.
They don't like it right now, but it's the first time I can actually gloat that. And from that point on, the game has spread like wildfire. It just got Olympic recognition in December of last year, and they're hoping that by the 2020 Summer Olympics, it'll be an Olympic game.
Wow.
Internationally, about 50 countries playing now and over 2 million players. Here in Canada, the development is still at the grassroots level, but we have over 400 schools playing the game. Hockey Canada is using it in all of their skill academies across the country. More and more hockey organizations and schools are seeing this as a great sport to be involved with.
Well, with Source TV, we've interviewed you before about this, and I've seen you all over this country promoting the game. And I'll tell you what, it is really capturing the imagination of hockey players specifically, but it's not just for hockey players. And I know that Source for Sports has been a big part of getting you to get this out to the public.
Definitely. Source has been an amazing partner, continues to be a great partner. They actually support the Canada Cup Floorball Championship, which is the biggest event for floorball in the country. Last year was 57 teams, takes place over the May long weekend in Toronto. That's an open tournament. Anybody watching this can put together a team and enter. All you need is some sticks and a group of guys to play, or girls. We go all the way to young ages from 8 and up to professional players coming over from Europe. So
well, and parents now, when you go into your local Source for Sports, these are experts. They're taught through a training system through Juha. You explain to them exactly what's needed to participate in floorball, but you also have them understanding the game so that they can translate that to you as a parent and get your child, boy or girl, in the game.
That's very true, and we're lucky to work with such great, knowledgeable people, particularly in hockey, but that knowledge spreads to floorball very quickly. Some of the store owners run their own floorball leagues, or they know a lot about the game. I think it's a great partnership for us, and we really look forward to keep on growing that throughout the years.
All right, before we go into the actual equipment itself, maybe a couple little rules. There's some NHL players that have played and are playing floorball.
Yeah, a lot of the NHL guys from Europe play it. We got some media, I guess, maybe not in the best way when Sami Salo got injured this summer, maybe his 1,000th injury, unfortunately. But
exactly,
for us, it was great that Sami actually was playing floorball with all of his NHL buddies who were all training in Finland. This was, I think, the 10th year they were doing this game, and it just shows how intense the sport is, the fact that all the NHL guys are doing it, but also a reminder to everybody, make sure you stretch, because otherwise you can tear an Achilles or get injured playing the game, just like with any other sport.
Well, and that's an NHLer. He should have known a little bit better. Okay, talk about the equipment now. Of course, very lightweight. Of course, it's got the name Salming on it, and you know, I don't have to tell you if you're a Toronto Maple Leaf fan or a fan of hockey in general, Borje Salming was one of the all-time greatest defensemen, not only in Toronto, but in the National Hockey League. You are formed a partnership with Borje. Tell us a little bit about first him and, of course, the company Salming.
Well, Borje, not a lot needs to be said to introduce him in this country, and especially in the Toronto area.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's a hero, Hockey Hall of Famer, a great guy to work with. His equipment line is one of the best in the world, if not the best. A great man, a great person to work with. He personally tests all of the floorball equipment. He actually plays in a league back home. So it's a great guy to have on our team, and obviously from a promotional perspective, but also from the point that he's actually involved with the sport and cares about it. So that's a really great thing for our company.
All right, well, he's got his name on it, so tell us a little bit about it. This is called a Matrix Composite. Really light and very durable. Seems like it's very well constructed.
I think those are the biggest advantages compared to a traditional floor hockey stick, is that, one, you're able to do a lot more with this stick. We call it skill enhancing equipment versus maybe skill diluting equipment. With the other stuff, it doesn't matter how good hockey player you are. It's hard to do a toe drag or a top shelf shot with one of those sticks, where this stuff is actually designed to allow you to do that and develop your skill. And that's where I think organizations like Hockey Canada are seeing that you can really use this for training in a very serious way, and that all stems back to the equipment. So the stick you have right there, that's a $40 retail price. Very durable. It's going to last a long time. You can use this in your basement. It's not going to mark any floors around the house. It's a light ball. That's not going to cause injury. You can take it out on the street if you want, or any gymnasium, bring it to your school and start playing that way. So there's a lot of options to get started. Very inexpensive. the equipment does range kind of up to the top end, which would be
Which
something
got a new
like this.
one.
This one here is a really new stick that we're proud of. It's actually got a real wood finish on the outside, so every single one of these is unique. The logo and the Salming logo that you can see at the top here is actually burned individually onto each stick, so it's a little bit different if you're looking for something unique, and it's got actually a real leather grip as well to give you a little bit extra grip when you're shooting. So these sticks can go all the way up to about $230 retail when you really get into the sport.
Bory's probably using one of these, I can tell you that. It looks, and you know what?
He might have insisted on this design,
exactly.
I think, yeah.
Lightweight, really durable, as you say. How is it on the asphalt? Will that hold up?
That's a question we get from a lot of parents. Actually, it's a real good question, and it's actually the way I learned to play floorball back home as we did it sort of like street hockey. You go outside. I'd say a blade maybe needs to be replaced once a year, maybe once every couple of years.
So the blade's replaceable?
All of the blades will come off. You can actually replace it with a little bit of a better blade if you want. We have blades for some of the Zorro tricks, which are where tricks you'll probably see a little bit later on, where you can actually lift the ball up in the air and do a lot of different moves. So that might be a reason to replace the blade anyway, but I would say you get at least a couple years out of a blade, even if you're using it outdoors all the time. The only thing we don't recommend is if you use it outside, don't bring it back into a really nice gym, because the bottom will be a little bit rough and it could scratch the floors that way. So
all right, so tell me
careful.
this, I got a question that, could a player actually between games or during games change the blade for the simple fact that it's got a different contour if you're shooting or stick handling, as you mentioned?
Exactly. Usually I think you'd have different sticks already, so you don't have to change it, but you definitely could. There's nothing in the rules. The only thing is if you do change the blade, make sure you change it with the same manufacturer's blade. There is actually a rule by the International Floorball Federation. They approve the whole stick for safety, and if you're switching blades between companies, it might not be safe anymore, so they just make sure that you're doing it with the same brand.
Okay, talk to us about the game itself then for parents and consumers from Source for Sports. Let them understand first, how do they get involved in the game? Secondly, once they are involved in the game, some of the rules that they have to follow.
Well, in terms of getting involved with the sport, it's still a young sport. You could find some local leagues. For example, we run leagues across the GTA and some leagues beyond. You can find those at playfloorball.com. That's one of our league websites. To start up a league in your area is very easy. I mean, a couple of the new leagues that we started, it was a local hockey team or an association said, guys, we want you doing this for Dryland. Just pick up a stick and start playing in the league. You get 40 kids going and you have a league running. So it's not as hard as it sounds, and you're building the infrastructure for a sport that's on the rise, potential Olympic sport in the future. So definitely for the parents out there that might be interested, it could be a little bit of work, but take that plunge and start up a league. It's not that hard, and we'll help you out with that process. In terms of the rules, it's all geared towards safety and scoring goals. So obviously the light ball helps with that, the equipment like I mentioned, but you don't bring the stick above your waist even when you're shooting. You can still shoot 191 kilometers an hour, so you don't need a big swing. But the really good aspect of the game is the sticks stay low. So you don't need gloves, you don't need helmets, not a lot of protective equipment. Other rules, it borrows a little bit from soccer. So you get free hits, which are like free kicks. For example, if you have that ball and I come in, I'm not allowed to come in and lift your stick or hack it. If I do any of that stuff, what happens is a free hit, which is like a free kick. Referee will whistle, the ball will be placed. 3 seconds later, you're playing again. So concepts kids are familiar with, but make the indoor hockey aspect of this safer and easier to play for everybody.
All right, as we leave you, could you tell us about the transition from summer to winter? Obviously, this is a game that will definitely help stick handling, as you mentioned, the old toe drag, which has become very popular in the NHL. It's obviously a sport that you can utilize not only for dryland training, but also skill enhancement for hockey. Of course, we're in Canada, and you know it's important to get our kids ready and prepared for winter hockey.
Exactly. I think that using this as an off-ice summer activity is a no-brainer. I think with the organizations that have seen it, I recently met a lot of the guys from the Finnish and Swedish elite leagues at the World Hockey Summit, and over there, the one thing the guys said is every one of the elite teams uses this in the off-season. It's just something that's taken for granted. They all use it, and I think we don't want our Canadian players falling behind in a skill development aspect. I think that the Europeans maybe have a little bit of a head start on us right now in the floorball, but with the hockey talent and the level of hockey players and the number of players in this country, not going to take a long time to catch up at all. So really an exciting thing to get involved with, and it's going to help your hockey game. So I think it's a great thing to get involved with right away if possible.
Well, you're always a pleasure talking floorball with you. I'll tell you what, you are on a mission to bring the sport to the Olympics, and I know if anybody can do it, you're certainly going to do that. Listen, you are watching Source TV with Source for Sports. We know our stuff.